let me allow me to record this, Stefan. Can you just repeat what you've just said?
What did I just say? Good morning, good afternoon. Yeah, the checker is near to finished, and I hope I'll put something up tomorrow so that when you upload any files for the 3 topics, or if you upload one file that cover all the topics, and so that's, I also need to test it a bit. So looking forward to your files.
Yeah. And we have 2 example files, right? Stefan, one for
yes,
geotech
there are.
and one for.
Lars has already put up 2 example files that are still as a pull request, so you need to search in the pull requests. They're not merged yet because they haven't been thoroughly checked yet, and we really want to, when we give you an example file, to give you one that we're almost certain that is everything's correct there. But yes, hopefully tomorrow we'll have a feedback on those files, and let's see how many mistakes Lars has intentionally put in them.
Indeed. And now you have muted yourself. Are you gone?
Now I believe open mic, as usual. I would love to give participants a possibility to ask questions about the sprints, about the content, about any difficulties they have in their implementations. So yeah, please.
Unfortunately, I've kept Adam busy with doing a definition for road authorities here for survey strings. So getting them working and using some nasties in that has just kept him busy for the last week or 2. Correct, Adam? Probably longer than that.
Yep. That's very fiddly stuff.
But because what was the one you're having trouble with? The
the gradient curves. That was
the gradient curves. So
yeah, I got hung up on an issue there, whereas I was exporting terrible geometry, but the file was looking correct because the one I was checking it against was just being read in again for some reason into Peter's IFC viewer. So I was thinking it was working, but then it wasn't.
So unfortunately, I've been sidetracking him for a little while.
Yep. But I've gotten to the bottom of that now, so it should all be working.
Should, right? That's the keyword there.
Should.
No, so yeah.
Although there is some sort of survey meeting coming up shortly, and they'll probably tell us everything we're doing is not allowed. But apart from that, I'm not certain if and Erica's probably on that meeting too.
Yeah, I was asked to join, so I will try to join. That's within an hour from now or so, isn't it?
Oh, that's right. Yes, later. Yeah. Was it later today? Yeah.
Early.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, because we got we have this access system from Trimble, right? A survey system, and they are now very much engaged in IFC, at least some engagement there. And they are very concerned about point and lines, of course, how to handle this in access, because that's super important for them. So.
Yeah, well, that's what we've been doing with the main roads in Queensland and New South Wales, to come up with a definition to cover all their survey requirements. What we have had to use, of course, we have to use IFC annotation, but then we're having to use their nested IFC annotations. So it'll be interesting whether that's allowed. I presume it's allowed, but
yeah, you probably have the same approach as we have, that if it's only well defined and everyone has agreed, we can do whatever.
Yeah, that's right. So as long as we haven't gone too bad, then they'll become probably the IFC definition for those 2 authorities for their survey data.
Yeah. It's just the parsing to get it into the system, so that could be a little bit tricky if it's difficult. But anyway, when this works, then it's okay. So,
yeah. So
the important thing is to agree upon how it should be represented, so it's the same all over the globe. That would be very good.
One can hope.
Yeah. Australia and Norway is on the opposite sides of the ball, isn't it?
That's true. That's true.
So then we have covered it all.
It already covers half of the hemispheres. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, the whole if you go around.
Yeah, that's right.
And do like this.
So did you say this session is this morning? I mean,
Yeah.
in an hour from now?
Yeah, it's this implementers forum. Evandro
Right,
has
okay.
organized it.
Great.
Okay, good.
Later
But
this afternoon, you mean, or is there an additional one?
No, it's
It's a special one, I think.
The special one. Okay.
Yeah.
Are you participating, Stefan?
I'm not there, no.
You didn't get the invite?
No.
But you are part of the implementers forum, are you?
But I think that Evandro is trying to do like smaller groups for specific topics.
It's Thomas Liebig, Olivier, and Lee, and me, and Dion. I don't know. And what is his name? T. Krinen.
Oh,
Krinen.
Thomas
Krinen.
Krinen.
Krinen. Okay. Yeah.
Right. Interesting. Okay.
Olivier is from Geomedia.
Yes, from Sojolink.
Yes.
But I could briefly say status for us for tunnel then, because these guided lines is super interesting, I think. But I maybe said this before. We have NoPoint Tunnel is the product, and it's a separate exe file. In fact, that used to run on top of AutoCAD. So it communicates through Quadri, through the socket layer with a certain API system. And to be able to get this information into the Quadri, because it's the Quadri that export the IFC. And then we need to do something inside the NoPoint exe file and take it through the socket layer to Quadri. And the developers that can do this, I am not able to get priority on, so I can do that this autumn. So we can't deliver the guided lines and this, that I think was the most interesting part. So, but we will do for sure voxels at least, because that we have started on now to implement the values on the voxels.
Okay.
And
is that as part of the Geo Suite package, or is that as part of Quadri?
Yeah, so Artemis is on this now. We have corrected, we had a bug with this metadata values for how many voxels is it in both, all 3 dimensions, right? That was wrong. Yeah, it was one of the bugs we had. So that's corrected, and now we will add the values as well in addition to the Boolean.
Okay, good.
So then we think our voxels are good at least. And then of course Artemis will go on with boreholes for ground investigation. That's the core thing that GeoSuite is doing. Yes. Vertical ground investigation boreholes. So at least those 2 concepts we will cover, and then we will hopefully we can export the final tunnel body geometry out in IFC 4.4 as well, but not the guided guiding lines, but as a surface model.
and then B-reps or something like that.
Yeah,
how would you export the body?
Tin model, surface model of the, because we make it in AutoCAD in 3D, import it back into Quadri, and then it's surfaces, and then we can export this out again in IFC. That we have done already in 2x3 or whatever, but then we could fit it into this IFC 4.4.
And I don't recall, does Quadri support closed surfaces like?
Yeah,
it does. Okay.
But and some extrusion and stuff, but not that advanced extrusion as we will have here. So it will not be an intelligent body of any kind. It will just be a stupid geometry.
Explicit geometry.
It's
explicit. It's maybe
a start, yes.
Better than the stupid.
Yeah. it's a start to have at least some sort of data. Yeah. So the parametric geometry is really the pinnacle of IFC. Yeah, and it's
yeah, I would say that guided lines. Volue from Norway and Beaver Control, they are attending, right? So I think that will be the new standard. We had a conference, a small conference here a couple of months ago, and we agree that IFC 4.4, when it's on a more mature level, will be the new standard for exchanging this information from the design systems to the site. Because today we use Leica, LAN XML Roadrunner extension. So it's more like that was available 10 years ago when we started doing this. So now we have
Was that
more.
you don't need to ditch a running system.
No, and it has been very useful in all these years. So it works very well. They build like 30 new tunnels every year based on this LAN XML format. So,
okay.
But
was that Norway specific, this conference?
yeah, it was. You remember Inge Hogstad, BIA Nettverk? No, it's a lady that used to work in Vianova 250 years ago, and she started her own company that organized these ad hoc seminars, I would say.
Good.
Very, very useful, exchanging information between contractors and design engineers and software vendors.
Okay.
Mm.
Good. I just wanted to mention that we are carrying on, you probably know, but carrying on with the collaboration with FTIA, so the Finnish Tunneling Association, the Finnish Transportation Agency, sorry, and then likewise with Swedish Ministry of Transportation. So. Okay.
The finance thing. I communicated a little bit with Tone in the Norwegian Tunnel Association, and she said she was 99% sure that we will get the funding from the Norwegian Tunneling Association. But they have a meeting in, was it September or something, that they have to decide?
Yeah, early September, she said yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good, and thanks again for the drive you inject into motivating people out there. Thank you very much for that.
No problem.
I was looking at the files that have been posted, Stefan, by Artemis, and apparently the last one is probably the was posted like 2 weeks ago. That's probably an empty one. If you have had the occasion to look at it, I think so. Yes.
Yeah, there is one pull request that doesn't have a file in there. Yeah, I'm also wondering what happened there. So hopefully our team will join us at some, or perhaps today, perhaps she's on vacation. I'm not sure.
No, I communicated with her yesterday, so she should check some bug fixes, etc. So I can send her a chat and ask her to check the latest pull request she sent out.
I think I left a comment on there, so
yeah, okay.
Just double checking.
Okay. Thanks for the update, Henrik. Much appreciated. Is there anything else we need to exchange with each other? Nope. Okay.
Well, I'll talk to you next week then.
Yep, indeed. I'll talk to you next week, and you have a nice evening. You have a good day.
Thank you.
Yeah, talk to you next week.
Michelle, can you stay on just a bit?
Of course I can.
Yeah.
Cheers. So Michael, the floor is yours. You had a few things you wanted to share.
Yeah. Okay. So just maybe two items, perhaps. So number one is, Michelle, in the spirit of reciprocating, is, you had mentioned there's that potential opportunity for September, right?
Yes.
And so I did bring that up to the team, and they were receptive to learning of more information of, say, what would be expected of us. But I want to be careful not to commit beyond that just yet. But if whenever convenient, if there's more information available, I would be more than happy to pass that along to the team, and we could perhaps maybe build off of that. So that's one. The second item is that our team has dove into the georeferencing concepts. Thank you, Stefan. I see that, the sprint 1-2, that's definitely one of the direct resources we're using to help guide us as we kind of follow along with that sprint, which hopefully plays well on your end. But we're actually starting to think beyond that. What do we want to target from IfcTunnel next? And where the team is currently at is they want to focus on more the structural aspects and the built supporting aspects of the tunnel. And so I did a review on my part of the sprints that we have so far. And what I saw is that I think it's sprint 3, bear with me, let me get the page pulled up. Sprint 3 for the EXC, and then sprint 3 for the sys. I think those are the two. So the question I have coming to you is just those. Do you agree? Is this a reasonable statement? Is that from those two sprints that has good coverage of the constructed components of the tunnel and the constructed supporting system components? Is that correct? Or I wanted to make sure, did I miss anything from the previous sprints that were okay? Okay, and that's really all I had.
So the thing is a lot of, so to state it in a perhaps easier way, previous sprints were preparing the building blocks, and now sprint 3 dot whatever are using those blocks to get everything now together. So
those bricks.
So it was bricks, yeah, or arch type. So of course, if you look at the sprint 3, the EXC, so the excavation and system and support, there's a special, let's say, section on support where we are looking forward to have an IFC element assembly with arches. We're looking for segments. We're looking for, excavation supports or, tunnel supports systems and stuff like that. And all of these have multiple requirements on them, but all of these requirements more or less come from previous sprints where we've tried to just convey there is a possibility of being placed, so that a component can be placed. And we, just for the sake of the argument, for the sake of having an example, we pulled up something in the previous sprints, but now you're using it also with the components themselves. So yes, if you're going from, let's say, this more components aspect of it, of course, start in 3, but you're going to get pointed back to previous sprints, where these concepts were covered. If you're gonna, if you're gonna, for example, define an arch element type, so you have one arch element type of thing that you are having multiple instances of, that type has to be declared by IFC project. That was sprint 1.1, where we introduced that topic.
Excellent. So great point, Stefan, is that we need to, accept and be aware that, just jumping in right at sprint 3 excavations, well, it's may not be that simple. And actually the team did bring that up, but I failed to convey that, is that there's going to be instances here where we have the building blocks that are going to need to come first. And so it may be, yes, we want to potentially target sprint 3 excavation, sprint 3 systems next, but nonetheless, we're going to be taking some steps back before we get to those. Okay, so that's a great.
In the same way as you've, of course, yourself realized, we have to start with georeferencing because you know about the location, right? About the where on Earth. So you knew you need to do that building block in order to even be able to reference something. So, but even if you were to start with, I have a tunnel, I have tunnel segments. At some point, you would cross the where on Earth is that, but it was covered previously. Yes.
Yep.
And maybe just one comment on the concepts that you'll find in the example files. These are only a subset, so sub-selection that we made of a group of concepts, discipline-specific concepts that we're making sense to work together, and that but if you have other concepts in that particular discipline that you are interested in implementing, basically the same kind of mechanics is to be used. So this is very much something you can replicate to other concepts that are not part of those example files.
Okay, all right, and a great point, Michelle, is that like with the sprint 3 with the systems, right? Like we focused on the fire suppression, but the business logic.
Yeah, the business logic as to the implementation would be the same for ventilation, would be the same for lighting, would be the same for dewatering and so on and so on.
We picked one system, but you know, if you have other systems that they go by the same principles, just you know, I think we even wrote in the sprint documentation that, you know, come up with other examples. Yes, we're happy to accommodate for that as well, and perhaps we will bring you some requirements for that as well, just so that you know you have a guidance or a guiding thing.
Yeah.
But I would have one question though. So the way I understood on the georeferencing part of your questions, right? You're importing, and you want to understand that import. How does this relate to this sprint 3 topics that you've just mentioned? Are you still also only doing the importing, or are you also exporting stuff?
Yeah, so great question. And so, you know, Esri's approach to IFC files to now has been focused on the consumption side. There has not been a focus on the export side of things, and
it makes sense. Yes.
Yeah.
So it's just so I would be interested in seeing what happens with our example files in your software, which is a point that I wanted to make also to anybody listening to the recording at some later point in time for the importing test, right? Because we're, of course, IFC file, if it's only exported, that's only half of the story. It needs to get imported to be useful. So for the imports, I would really welcome if you can post screenshots, or if you can post some, you know, sort of evidence.
Yes.
Or, you know, whatever from your software or from your developer or from your protocol text file that gets written in the back, whatever format that showcases that you support it, of course, that would really make it easier for you to trace what you have already supported, but also it would show us that, you know, we didn't only cover half of the story, but we covered the full story. Because I'm not sure if you've looked. Sorry, Michelle, just to finish my thought here. If you look at the files repository with files directory within the repository, apologies.
Yeah.
There's a Catenda that has a really simple README in there, where I've contacted one of the main developers there, and he said, "Sorry, we can't do IFC 4.4, so nothing."
Okay.
Right, but you know, they have tried. We have evidence. They are playing with it, and I'm not sure if I have something from is it Geometry Gym that uploaded something? No, there has been one screenshot once from a georeferencing file stating like, "Hey, I get to this location using your reference file," and I would really encourage you to, you know, make your own directory here. Perhaps start to README. If you don't know about Markdown, I can help you with that as well. But
yeah,
you should be fine, right? And show us what you get there,
whatever
and if you have no problems, or if you have experienced any problems, like the problems that you've just raised this week about georeferencing. That's what we're searching for.
Excellent.
And when Stefan says our example files, actually what he means is the ones that we provide, but the ones that are produced by the other partner, the other software developers that are only exporting, quote, quote, only exporting. And yes, that'd be, and Aka has been moving forward, and Catenda is starting to move forward as well on this, you know, again, step by step, because they needed to secure some of the basics 4.3 concepts first, because they were more like, you know, 4.0 ready, not so much 4.3 ready, and you know, those BIM platforms. But then they'll get to the discipline specific concepts as well. So sometimes when people say 4.4, they actually mean the disciplines concepts, discipline specific concepts. Whereas, as a matter of fact, what they do is they upgrade their import abilities from 4.0 to the latest, and the latest being, as a matter of fact, Fallout 4, but going through some Fallout 3 concepts that we've suggested improvement for as well.
No, well noted, genuinely well noted on both counts. And I had from a previous meeting, I think from Michelle and or Stefan, to when our team gets to the point to where we say, hey, file PS01 from the Rail team, or whatever example files, the files you're working with. Yeah, I made a note to get the thumbs up from my development team to bring up that subject, creating that folder and showing that evidence. I mean, and I think that depending on the additional information from the potential September opportunity, we may or may not have to do that anyway, right? And so anyway, that's well noted. Yeah,
I just wanted to pinpoint, if September, what you've just asked previously, if there is something to happen, of course, you will be required to show something.
Exactly.
And so, that can be, that can be introduced as well by sort of an explanation of the process you follow internally, what that means and what this is branched into, and the implications and so on. And then, of course, a few examples that you video record, and that you show, and that, just to prove that the thing is under work, and that you've made progress since for 3 months.
Yep, excellent. Okay, well, as always, this is so helpful. Really appreciate it, and like I said, hope to give back more as time goes on. I feel like you provide such a good resource. So
the feedback you provide us with, Michael, is
excellent.
Is very, very of interest to us, and motivating as well, and motivates the others too.
Yep.
That's maybe something you may not feel, but we feel. So that's very positive.
Awesome. Okay, great.
Good.
That's all I had for my part. So
lovely. Anything specific, Stefan, you wanted to add? Nope.
Not that it pops to my mind right now.
And as for the concepts that Michael's team is working on right now, the checker is there for use, right?
Yes, soon. Yes.
Good.
So, but as far as I understand, Michael is not dependent on the checkers. He's importing himself.
We could pass every time. We would pass every single. No, I'm kidding.
He's gonna post pictures, right? So
Yeah. So, all right.
Okay. Now I see what you mean. I had something else in mind. I had in mind that he could run the files that he's trying to import through the checker to see first how things are. But that's
definitely. This is something that
on my part.
We are, with good intention at least, trying to say that all the files that are part of the repository are correct.
Yeah.
Of course, again, this is new developments, new schema. There might be issues, but I'm fairly certain that the files should be fine.
Actually, you bring up just to really cover our bases. Again, once we get all right, we have this meaty contribution, and we are seeing successful consumption. Maybe it doesn't hurt to pass it through the checker to make sure that we, that we have not successfully imported in the incorrect way. So maybe there is some data. So it's a good. Okay, so it's a good point. Okay.
Double check, in a sense, double check the source upon which you build your
exactly
your own import. Yep. Good.
Okay.
Again, thank you very much for your time, your engagement on this project, and thanks to your team. Again, the invitation is open, as I said earlier on. If you'd like to have one of your developers join the call, either this one or something specific for whatever confidentiality reason, we can organize that. We have proposed this to another team already. Very good.
Thank you.
With that, wishing you a good day.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Michelle. Have a nice rest of the day.
Bye-bye.